Hey y'all, it's Demir here, back in the mix again in the studio, taking a bit of a different approach this time. Going to be answering a couple of questions on my approach to beat making and more specifically the art of sampling. So stay tuned, don't miss this one, should be fun, should be interesting. Bass. So sources of inspiration when it comes to beat making, I get asked this question a lot, and I get a lot of people asking me, or a lot of producers asking me, do you start with the drums, do you start with the sample, bass line, or some other form of inspiration musically? And the truth is that anything could happen at any particular time, and you just got to know what to do. If I had to put a take on it, I would say I'm a pretty heavy sample-based producer, but I do use the skills of musicianship from what I've learned from sampling over such a long period of time to help develop myself musically, more specifically as a musician, and being able to pick out the keys of songs and chord progressions and structures and how things should best fit. So although I might not start with the sample a lot of the time, I'm certainly leveraging that education based on what I've heard from the musicians of the past and present in terms of building my specific approach to a beat or song or tune or whatnot. So the art of sampling, I think this is a great piece for us to talk about, because a lot of the what I'd say younger producers today who haven't had the experience of growing up with disco music and having that form into house music eventually, and having seen the pioneering humble beginnings of hip-hop, I think a lot of these people miss out on that education, and I'm lucky enough to have had a lot of good influencers in my life and my family, other musicians I've grown up with and looked up to, where they've given me that education. And I do go out often and purchase vinyl records, learn about the producers down to the various musicians who've performed on these records, to understand a lot about their approach to making music, and even going deeper in terms of understanding their specific experiences and how that's influenced them from the past and of course the present, for those that are still with us. I just think a lot of guys miss out on that. They rely heavily on sample packs and do the classic drag and drop, and that's why a lot of the music in this saturated market just doesn't stand out like it's supposed to. It all sounds monotonous, it sounds the same in a lot of cases, and a lot of guys not putting their badge on what I think is a very important art in terms of the art of sampling. The education and sample sources and understanding those people who helped create and build those samples, what their experiences were, and as they continue to evolve. All right, I'm going to show you some nice gems that I got here. And before I get into some of these records, the other important piece about the art of sampling, and as it comes to beat making, I really think a lot of producers should be educated enough to say, I'm going to stay away from that sample, I'm going to stay away from that record, because it's been done 1,000,001 times. I think it was Tony Saputo of J. Paul Kettle. He actually put a post up telling people, producers who are submitting demos, that their tracks containing specific samples from a following list of oversampled groups, he's not even going to pay attention to, which I think is great. It's forcing people to step their game up and really really get familiar with the music that they're sampling in terms of how they should be building their own productions of today. All right, so I'm going to start off with what I think is a heavy hitter. It's a Sylvia Robinson record. This is a classic, what I believe is now a classic Dilla sample. This is a perfect example of a record that shouldn't be touched. And if you're going to touch it, you better come equipped and bring it to the table. Here's another cool one. When I go out shopping and try and find different things, although I didn't grow up in this era when the Bionic Woman was out, or the $1 Million Man, I learned about these things. I learned about the people who helped create not only these shows and soundtracks, but who arranges the tracks and stuff. Have a good look at the liner notes, and you'll find out some really great things. Silhouettes. It's a big record. If you listen to hip hop music, you'll know what this record is all about, and the man himself who sampled it. I think I'm going to do a little demonstration later about this record, because when I found out or first heard about it, I was blown away as to how it was used, and it's typically something we go through as producers. So for those of you that know their hip hop and know it well, you're going to get a kick out of this record. Here's another one, the South Soul Orchestra. For those of you that are very educated and up to speed on things, you know what this record is. I was actually going to sample a piece off of this, and then I think it was Genesis who played a mix recently that I listened to, and one of the tracks used the sample I was going to cop off of this record, so I didn't bother with that. Here's another Sylvia record, very soulful. Sylvia Robinson has a very interesting story. Not only was she involved in R&B, but she is considered a pioneer who started one of the first great hip-hop labels, Sugar Hill Records. A lot of good jams back in the 80s came out on that label. So again, you learn all these things from sampling and digging and getting very involved in who the players are, who produces the records, and why they did the things they did. Mikey Dread, big record. Voice of Jah. There's a cut on this one. You guys know Madlib's Blunted in the Bomb Shelter. He dropped that one in his mix. This is a pretty cool disco record. Barbara Marquet. It's alright to fuck all night or truck all night. I might be using something off of this. Who knows? We'll see. And last but not least is a gem that I pulled out of my archives. For you fellow producers who know this record, you know a couple of sneaky DJs know about that record right there. So I'm going to be doing a little audio demonstration. Have a listen, and you'll see what I'm talking about in terms of the art of sampling. It's a big component of electronic music and production today. It's very important that you get right into the grid of it and understand not only the samples themselves, but the sources of the samples. Look into the musicians, look into the producers, look into their lives, and you'll be open to a myriad of experiences and things that can influence you positively in terms of how you build your beats. Alright, let's go in here, find some records. This is one of the gems right here. But this is another great one right here. Ramp, George Duke, cheap little bunny cigarette, good disco shit. This is the fun part of discovering new sounds and samples. I don't think I showed this record earlier, but it's a really super rare 45 record by Dolores. Well, the song is called Dolores is Back, with Jerome and his band. And the significance about this record is Jerome, at the time the record was produced, is a 13-year-old drummer. So as you're gonna hear, it's crazy. And I was crazy happy when I found this record. I actually found it in San Francisco on just a record digging trip. It's mad crazy, and as some of you are aware, I'm gonna be putting out a hip hop album along with a samba album in the near future, and I'm definitely gonna rock a similar joint with this. So check this out.
You can do it. Come on, baby. 13 years old. And showing what you can do. Already 13 years old and fully grown. Now all the teenagers know what they can do if they really want to fly. Come on. Get on loud. Get your dance down. Do it.
So another 45 jam, Sylvia in the Moment, Sylvia Robinson, R.I.P. This is one of the records I was telling you guys about earlier. This is a record you don't sample. Dilla did it right. He continues to do it right posthumously. Leave the fucking record alone. Well, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a serious jam. Check it.
I swear you don't feel like a red disease. Comes to make love, I aim to please. Tell me that
Alright, so remember what I told you about this record, the Silhouettes. It was a priceless record in terms of what I would call as a producer one of the golden gems in producing this record. I'm not going to tell you who used it. For those of you that know and understand the art of sampling, you know the producer that rocked this very nicely on a well-known hip-hop joint. Check it. First side is the beat. And here is the other side, or the other sample used. Well, that's it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun talking to you about the art of sampling and beats, and getting a full understanding of the sources of the samples and the people who created them, paying homage to those hardworking musicians and the inspiration that they bring to the table. So it's very important as modern producers that we do the same in our own craft and bring that forward into what will become a genuine source of music that people can really buy into and feel and rock, either on their own or in the clubs or out with the friends, just chilling and having a good time. All right, again, I'm Demure. Look out for my EP, the Unleashed EP, on the GLA label, coming September 16th. Peace.